Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here on such a beautiful day. My name is Adrian Dix. I'm BC's Minister of Health, and I'm today's MC as well. I want to begin by acknowledging that we're gathering on the territory of the Wewakam people, and it's a great privilege to be here, and it's my honor to start us off today to welcome Elder Cheryl Lynn Thompson to open up today's event.
Can you hear me well? Okay. Yochtau, Gelakastauchla. Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Nuguam Puglas, Cheryl Thompson, Hala Suumka an Ugwaka. I am Puglas, that's my big house name, and I'm also known as Cheryl Thompson. Yayuklin la chochta likos dalchwe la glamato. I'm from the Leaklesdale people of Campbell River. What else do I want to tell you about me? I live in there, and yes, Iakulin Klakjada Zakaatsi. Iakulin Nuguam Iakulin Ka Quilskoliak or Quilskoliak Lakyada Zakaatsi. I work at the Campbell River Hospital, and my role is elder in residence, which means I watch over our First Nations clients and our special caregivers and help everybody feel culturally safe. So I'm really happy to be a part of this. Now I'd like to say a prayer. So I'll be a short prayer. Gela kasla ike gegome kas kapidi gachanu chwanala. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for bringing us all together. Gela kasla ka okta iksukdach chwanala. Thank you for this beautiful day. Gela kasla ike gigame ka ginu quiquilskoliak kanash. Thank you for our old wonderful people, our elders. We call them Koliak. O machino chayulis mulasis igilat zeyus. May we always be grateful for your goodness. I am so proud that that we're offering a place for our elders. I work with some of them, and my heart has been really sad that our people are just on a bed, and our caregivers give good care, but they're not in their own belongings in a place where they can create friendships and whatnot. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm thankful to all of you. Thank you, everybody. Hey,
Thank you, Elder Cheryl, and we're grateful to have you here at this event, and I wanted to present to you a small gift along with the Premier.
is that money in there?
Well, it's not that good. It's not that good. There might be. There might be. I think the capital budget is going somewhere else today. It's great to have everyone here. It's wonderful to have some of the teams working in the hospital here, working in long-term care, members of the BCNU, of the Hospital Employees Union, of the Health Sciences Association, the ambulance paramedics of BC, the doctors of BC, people who give their heart and soul to healthcare here in Campbell River every day. I'm going to give you a little bit of the run of show today. Who's going to be speaking? You're going to hear, of course, from Premier David Eby, Michele Babchuk, the MLA for North Island, Andy Adams, who's a board member at Island Health and indeed a former mayor of Campbell River, Doug Hillian, the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District Chair, Kermit Dahl, the mayor of Campbell River, of course, and Delane Trask, the wife to who is a resident, wife to Joe, and who is a resident at Ukulta Lodge. And it's wonderful to have you here. And you're going to be our closer today, Delane. So we know that's going to be really good, and we're really honored to have you here. It's great to be here in Campbell River. Long-term care, I think, for a lot of people, particularly during the pandemic, is a central issue in the healthcare system, of great importance. When I became Minister of Health, 88% of care facilities didn't meet our own standards in terms of staffing. And fortunately, before the pandemic, we were able to change that. And I'm very thankful we did. And so that now across every health authority, everyone meets those standards. In the 10 years prior to my becoming Minister of Health, we only spent $17 million on long-term care capital in the whole province. And at today's rate and costs, that would be about 3 beds a year in a province that is growing massively because of the growth of our economy and our life, and also aging as a population in general. And we've changed that. We now have a $2 billion long-term care capital program, which, if you're keeping track of home, is about 140 times more in the coming period than it was in the period prior to my becoming Minister of Health. I want to also note what we need to do is, of course, build new care homes. 17 long-term care homes in BC were built before 1970. 45 were built before 1980, and these are facilities that are used 24/7 every day. And simply put, we not only have to build more, but we have to replace beds. Family members of mine were in long-term care during the pandemic in rooms of 4, 5, and 6 beds. And we believe that long-term care residents need to be homes for people. So it's in that context that this is such an important announcement. And the issue of long-term care continues to be a central issue of society. We owe a debt, I think, to everybody who's been in long-term care and who will be in long-term care to do better. And that's what today's announcement is about, and what the significant announcements we've made on long-term care, a new long-term care builds in multiple communities in the last couple of months are about. And it's my honor now to introduce Premier David Eby to make today's announcement.
Thanks so much, Adrian. Thank you so much, Elder Thompson, for welcoming us to the territory. It's great to see you here today, and it's wonderful to see all of you. It is my birthday week this week, so I'm open to the possibility this is an elaborate surprise birthday celebration. Okay, just wanted to clarify. I think the detail may have been having some fun at my expense there. This is a really exciting day, and it is a birthday present for me to be able to come to a community like this to make such an important announcement about the future of Campbell River and making sure that people get health care when they need it and where they need it. We all know this has been a really stressful time for healthcare providers, for people who need health care coming out of the pandemic. We have seen the strain on our hospitals, on frontline healthcare service providers, and our government has been working hard, the minister has been working hard and his team to alleviate that strain that we're seeing nationally. This was a top topic of conversation among premiers in Winnipeg over the last week at the Council of Federation, and we'll be joining together in Nova Scotia on a specific health summit about this issue. For us here in British Columbia, it's meant a number of responses. It means getting people off of the sidelines that have the skills that we need in our hospitals, people with international experience, getting those credentials recognized, getting any training gaps addressed, and getting them into the hospital to support workers, doctors, care aides, nurses, health sciences professionals. It's been, for the long term, making sure that we're training healthcare professionals that we need. New nursing spaces across the province, 600. New spaces for family doctors and doctors in our medical school. And the first new medical school in 50 years in Western Canada that's going to be opening in the province of BC with a focus on community care. We're also building and expanding hospitals across the province right now, building out that infrastructure so that these healthcare professionals have a place to work that is high quality, that provides patients with the care that they need. There's so much going on, and Campbell River is no exception. Today's announcement is critically important to recognizing the dignity of every single person that needs care, and also to take pressure off of our primary healthcare system, our urgent care system. Having people in a hospital bed waiting for a long-term space to open means that that hospital bed isn't available for someone that needs urgent care. And so building these beds recognizes the dignity and the unique care needs of people who need long-term care, as well as it takes pressure off our hospitals as well. So that's why today I'm so glad to be here to announce that here in Campbell River, we will be building 153 long-term care beds in a 3-story facility that ensures that people will get high-quality care that supports them, that supports their family, that in fact supports the entire community. The design of this building around groups of patients of 12 to 13 people with shared dining spaces and shared kitchen facilities is a more family-like setting. It gives people a chance to have social experiences, to build relationships and have that kind of full quality of life as they're in long-term care. There's also adult daycare, support for families with someone that needs more intense care so that they get respite. They get some rest at home and their loved one is cared for while they get that rest. Beyond that, for our healthcare workers, for the community, childcare spaces in this facility, a 37-space childcare facility to make sure that when workers come to the hospital, when they come to work the long-term care, that they know their kids are cared for, that the community has that support that they need as well. And as we, absolutely. So people deserve health care at every stage of life. And it's about our urgent emergency care, it's about family doctors, and it's about long-term care. Today's announcement, this beautiful new facility, will support families, will support people who need care in a dignified way, alleviating pressure from our healthcare system. I want to thank MLA Michele Babchuk, who's been advocating for her community for many years and is delivering for her community, and thank Minister Dix and his team for working with local government here, with the Health Authority and others to make this announcement happen. Thank you all, and thanks for joining us on this really exciting day.
Thank you very much, Premier Eby, and I now have the opportunity to introduce someone who has advocated for this day for years, understanding the significant importance of long-term care to the community here and to the whole North Island. 153 beds will make a very significant difference, and it's my honor to introduce the MLA for North Island, Michele Babchuk, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for those warm words. There was times when I showed up at his door to do that advocacy where I'm pretty sure that he wasn't as excited to see me. So like you said, my name is Michele Babchuk, and I would also like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Likwata-speaking people, the Wiwakam, the Wiwakai, and the Kwika. But I would also like to say how honored I am to live and work in the North Island, and where I can respectfully acknowledge the traditional territories of the Kwakwakiwak, the Coast Salish, and the Nuu-chah-nulth people as well. I just want to take a bit of a time. I know that we've got speakers up here, but there's some really key integral people in our audience today that I think need to be recognized as well. And from the Wiwakam Nation, Chief Chris Roberts is here with us today. From the Wiwakai Nation, Chief Ronnie Chakite. We have some other counselors here today. Councillor Tennille Johnson, Susan Sinnott, Doug Chapman, Ron Kerr. which is Zach. I love to see you guys. Thank you very much for being here. And also some, these announcements don't happen in a one-year turnaround. There's some people that played some integral roles. We have past Councillor Claire Moglev, who was on the Island Health Board that worked on this for many years. Past Councillor Colleen Evans, who was on the Comox Strathcona Hospital Board. And of course, we have Charlie Cornfield back there, who was not only a councillor and a mayor in the past of Campbell River, but also the past chair of the Comox Strathcona Hospital Board. So I thank you all for all of your work getting us to this day. As you all may know, seniors are a growing group in our province. Actually, I am remiss because I miss the most important person who is in my heart, and that is my father, Roy, who has come here today to support me, who has supported me throughout my whole life. So thank you, Dad, for coming. By 2031, almost 1 in 4 people in this province, or over more than 1.3 people, will be over the age of 65. And by 2031, although, we don't need to shout it from the rooftops, I also may be one of those people. But yeah. We are witnessing a growing demand for long-term care beds throughout the province, including right here in Campbell River and the Greater North Island. The North Island hosts several Indigenous and rural communities, and for years I've heard from many people up and down this island about the obstacles they face in accessing childcare. Yes, I'm excited about that too, but hospital care as well. A new long-term care home in Campbell River means people living in the community in the surrounding rural and remote areas will benefit from improved access to the services they need. The addition of 153. I think that's the biggest amount we've seen in the North Island since 2019, when we added 19 beds to an already existing facility here. That's astounding, and I am so proud to be part of this announcement today. And as you know, we've been hearing that seniors and their families are in need of gaining more capacity in their levels of care. And I'm just going to reflect on a little bit of my own experience with my family and my dad being here. We lost my mom about 1.5 years ago, and we accessed the home care and we accessed everything. But I think I would be not standing alone up here in saying that there's a lot of the members of those families that get left behind that do all of those critical care pieces and taking care of those loved ones when they're in their last days of life. So this is going to expand those services and be able to help as we make sure that those people that are left behind aren't tasked with some of the growing responsibility of taking care of the loved ones. Seniors will be able to stay active and engage with family and friends, and will have more support in the transition and long-term care as seamless as possible. And when they decide to access it, not when somebody says it's time to go there, it's when they decide. And seniors will be able to create their own home environment and build those relationships and make that a place where they want to be, not a place where they feel they have to be. So as a province, we'll continue to prioritize the investment in health and happiness of our well-being of our seniors, ensuring that they get the best care at every stage of their lives. And this new care home facility represents a deep commitment that I feel for our seniors in the community. Another step forward in ensuring people in BC get the care they need when they need it. It's been an honor to speak with you today. I also want to acknowledge the myriad of Island Health staff that are here that have done this, and I would be remiss. We can build all these buildings, but there's a special place in heaven and a special place in my heart for those people that work inside those buildings, that care for our seniors and choose these professions as they go forward. I want to thank everybody for coming today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Michele. I've always got to be at my best when Michele is around. When Michele and her dad are here, that's a lot of additional pressure. It's a lot of additional pressure. Thanks, Michele. I want to just tell you just a few things about the care home here, and that are unique. The Premier has talked about the households accommodating 12 to 13 residents. in single bedrooms with bathrooms, including in each pod a larger room to assist those to accommodate bariatric residents and those with special equipment needs. In addition to that, in the 153 long-term care beds, there's a 10-bed hospice unit, a 26-bed convalescent unit, and a 26-bed specialized population unit. The specialized population unit supports individuals requiring long-term care, but who would benefit from specialized services to meet their needs, for example, a younger adult population, or those experiencing challenges related to traumatic brain injury, mental health, or substance issues. The 26-bed convalescent unit will provide short stay enhanced rehabilitation supports for seniors who would benefit from a period of rehabilitation before returning home. So all of this adds up to a very significant and really transformative initiative for seniors care, and where it really matters, I think, is in the quality of life. We have done, I think, exceptional things in keeping people safe and providing medical care and long-term care, but quality of life was part of every element of the design of this project. And with that, it's a real honor. I know Kathy McNeil, the President and CEO of Island Health, is here today. I want to say hi to Kathy, and it's my honor to introduce, on behalf of the Island Health Board, someone everyone knows around here, Andy Adams, to say a few words. Andy?
Thank you, Minister Dix. It's with great respect and humility that I acknowledge the unceded traditional territory of the Likwitut people of the Weewakai, the Weewakam, and the Kwikwa nations. Great to see you here, Chief Roberts and Chief Chikite. Thank you. In making this acknowledgement, I commit to walk softly on this land and to work to uphold Indigenous self-determination. Premier Eby, thank you for being here today to make this critically important announcement for healthcare in the northern half of Vancouver Island. Thank you, Minister Dix and MLA Babchuk, for joining us today to officially launch the procurement process for a new long-term care home here in Campbell River. This is an exciting day, and I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Island Health Board, and Board Chair Leah Hollins sends her best wishes and regrets for not joining us here today. This new care home will be built and operated by Island Health. When completed, it will provide more than 150 new beds to support people to live and age in their community. As Minister Dix had just said, there are 26 convalescent care unit, 26-bed specialized population unit to support individuals requiring special care such as brain injuries. And there will also be a 10-bed hospice unit. We would not be here today without the partnership and collaboration between governments and Island Health, who came together to develop this innovative long-term care home. I would like to thank the Premier and the Minister of Health, and of course our MLA Babchuk, for supporting this important project that will provide excellent care for seniors and the people in need of long-term care. I also want to acknowledge and thank the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District for its funding commitment for this addition to patient care services. This project is a wonderful example of collaboration and to build positive change. Also want to make a shout out to former board chair, former mayor, and former councillor Charlie Cornfield, who's with us here today. Thank you, Charlie, for all the work you've done. As a longtime resident of Campbell River, and having lived through the experiences of today's Campbell River Hospital, the construction of Ukolta Lodge, the Hospice House, the Vancouver Island Children's Foundation Kwalayu House, and the current adult lodge project that is under construction, all with huge community support and sponsorship. I have a special appreciation of the significance of this announcement and welcome the addition of what I like to refer to as the campus of care. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this very special announcement. Premier Eby, Minister Dix, thank you.
So one of the important aspects of this partnership is the role of the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District. I just want to say, and I'm going to introduce Doug Hillian, and in a second to say a few words, but I would say this, that one of the things that I believe powerfully is that we need to build long-term care in this province, that it's critical to the functioning of the hospital. You can build magnificent hospitals, but if you don't have long-term care, those hospitals can be transformed into long-term care homes because people ultimately can't make the move. They can't make the move back to the community, and there's no place for them to go. It transforms the way the hospital is. But more than that, we need people to be advocates for long-term care. At any given time in BC, there are about 30,000 residents in long-term care, and they and their families and the family councils that we've recently put in and supported in legislation in our province, they do an important job. And we know, if you'd asked us 2 years ago what the biggest issue in healthcare, a lot of people would have said long-term care. We were living through a COVID-19 pandemic that profoundly affected long-term care. And here we've had rock-solid, significant support from the hospital district, which understands the value of long-term care, understands that this is something that the community wants and needs, not just the hospital, but a long-term care home that provides dignity and a better quality of life to residents who need to be in long-term care. And so I'm really honored on behalf of the province to introduce Doug Hillian from the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District and to thank you for your support.
Thanks very much, Minister and Premier Eby, Elder Cheryl, and honored guests. And I must say it's wonderful to be here today. I can't help but be mindful of spending some time in this hospital myself for a surgical procedure last summer, and how incredibly grateful I am for the care that I received and the care that I know so many receive from our healthcare staff. I'm also very mindful that my skin specialist would not be terribly impressed by the fact that I'm out here in the sun today. And you'll know why just to look at me. But nonetheless, it is indeed a pleasure to be here as the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District Chair and to be part of this long anticipated and very welcome announcement. I want to acknowledge Hospital District Board Vice Chair Edwin Grieve, who traveled up with me this morning. We actually live in the Comox territory, and we are a partnership between the Comox territory and the territory of the traditional peoples of the land that we stand on today. And I want to acknowledge all the people whose journeys beforehand have brought us to this point. A new long-term care facility in our region is desperately needed to shorten wait lists and provide older residents and their families with more care options closer to home. We are so grateful for the province's support, and we're proud to be a funding partner on a project that will improve the health and well-being of people living in the Comox Strathcona region. I would also like to extend appreciation to our previous board chair, Charlie Cornfield, and to regional district staff members Russell Dyson and James Warren, who guided a strategic planning process during the 2018 to 22 term that saw the board agree to co-fund this project. And there are those in the crowd who will remember, including Andy Adams, some of the debates that we had about this, and I'm so pleased that we came to the decision that we did. We deeply appreciate our hospital board's collaborative working relationship with Island health officials, particularly given their tireless efforts through this very challenging time to meet the healthcare needs of our residents. And I just want to say to the Island Health people who are in the crowd that you have been so solid in working with us, in building the partnerships and the working relationships that we need to assure that we can represent the citizens of our region as well as possible. In conclusion, I want to acknowledge all those who serve in our healthcare system, including at the political level, and may we all continue to work together to meet the needs of our residents. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Doug, and thank you again for your support. It's been so valuable and so important for this project. It's mayors get the best title his worship. It's a good title. Okay? It's great and the people of Campbell River have been throughout this period of pandemic, the community, the municipality, everyone else have been incredibly committed to working together to protect one another in difficult times. And so it's a real honor on this really important occasion to introduce Mayor Kermit Dahl.
I want to thank the people of the Wewakai and Wewakam for allowing us to gather here today, and thank Chief Ronnie Shakite and Chief Chris Roberts for joining us. On behalf of the citizens of Campbell River, it's my pleasure to extend our thanks to Premier Eby on the announcement of 153 long-term beds coming to Campbell River. Congratulations and thank you to Island Health and the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District on this great news. I appreciate this opportunity to recognize the work and dedication of previous city councils, in particular councils led by Andy Adams, with his supporting cast of Claire Moglove, Charlie Cornfield, Colleen Evans, myself, Ron Kerr, and Michele Babchuk. It takes time and a lot of work, so it takes several rotations of councils to bring this stuff together, and they did a great job for our community. As a member of the community whose wife has worked here since 1999 and at Ucalta for the last 8 years, I'm especially pleased to learn the community will be having these new long-term beds, and I wanted to provide a little perspective. We say 153 beds, but I don't think most people would realize that Ucalta is only 101 beds now, so this is a huge increase of beds for the North Island, and it's going to make a huge difference. As we're all aging, and some of us may need one in the not too distant future, as MLA Babchuk said, in 7 years I will not be over 65, but some will. With that, again, I'd like to thank the province, Premier Eby, Minister Dix, our MLA, and everyone that came here to enjoy this announcement. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Dahl. And now I'm gonna hype this up a little bit for you, Delaney, because we were talking beforehand. But I think it's very important always. As someone through the pandemic who had family members in long-term care, I can tell you that there are, of course, moments of great joy, as there are in all families. But these are real challenges. The need to get into long-term care, the moment when someone is able to get a bed, which is a very mixed feeling in people's lives, and all that means for families. And talked a little bit about this with Delane, whose husband Joe is at Ucalta, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about that experience and why I think it's so. What we're doing here is so important for people such as Joe, people such as Delane, and all the other people who are in long-term care or who will be in long-term care in this community. So it's my real honor to introduce Delane Trask to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My husband, Joe, as you know, is receiving excellent care with the staff at Ucalta. This proposed facility will bring so much needed services under one roof. This will be very beneficial for the caregivers out there who have been trying their best to find all the many different aspects of care for their loved ones. On behalf of all of those who have been struggling, we are very grateful for the important step forward and the wonderful people who will make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delane. And now is an exciting part of our program when we call the Premier back to the microphone to take media questions.
Thanks for joining us today. We have members of the media here in person and additional members of the media on the phone line. For those on the phone line, please press *1 to enter the queue. All members of the media will be limited to one question and one follow-up. So today we're going to start right here on the ground with Grant Workington from CIQC, The River. Go ahead, Grant.
Thank you, and thank you for being here this afternoon. I see we have concept art there, and I just wanted to be the one to ask the obvious question, which is what sites are being considered for this facility, and what kind of timeline are we looking at?
It's going to be on site. We're talking, because this is the, I'll do the obvious follow-up question. The estimated, and we go to tender, so the ultimate cost is determined by the bidding process, but the estimate is in the neighborhood of $135 million in terms of the cost of the project. We're going through the design and tendering process now. We'll have someone starting the construction in 2025, and we expect to be here in 27 or 28.
Grant.
Can I just say, Grant, curveball local media, we didn't expect a question about this actual announcement, so that's why I had to switch in the health minister. Obviously, not the Victoria media. No offense. No offense. Thanks, Grant.
For our next question, we will in fact turn to Victoria with Richard Zussman from Global News. Go ahead, Richard.
Ask a localized, hyper-localized question now about the local fishing pier in Campbell River. I want to ask about the port strike. Strikers were back on yesterday. It has been ruled an illegal strike. What do you think needs to happen now in terms of the role of the federal government in ensuring that there's some semblance of normalcy at the port?
Well, for so many people, their jobs are dependent on the port. In British Columbia, whether you work directly for the port or whether you're in an industry where you're importing or exporting through the port, we're the gateway to the Pacific. It was a hot topic at the national level at the Premier's gathering because the provinces of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, very dependent on our port. It's critical. It's absolutely urgent that the parties be at the table working this out. My understanding is that there are not discussions currently happening between the workers who deserve to be treated fairly, who have seen record profits from the shipping companies, and the employer that has a responsibility to ensure that our port is operating. They've got to be at the table. And they were so close to an agreement, from what I understand. It went for consideration to union membership. And we've got to keep that momentum going. We've got to get this concluded in a way that's fair to the employees, that's responsible and recognizes the awesome authority and place that the port has in our economy in Canada for all Canadians. And I really call on the federal government to do everything they can to get the parties back to the table as quickly as possible to resolve this.
And Richard, do you have a follow-up question?
Is there any point where there needs to be additional measures to just being at the table? As you described, they were at the table, they were close, there seems to be something in the way there to negotiate a deal. Should there be a requirement for the members to vote rather than the executive? Do you believe there needs to be some sort of legislation at federal level to put them back to work in the short term while negotiations happen? Like, what short-term measures, considering how fractious it now seems between the sides?
I think if we're looking for a rapid solution to this issue, and certainly that's my priority as Premier, and that's the priority of all British Columbians and Canadians, is to see this resolved as quickly as possible. It's going to take good faith from both parties to get to the table and hammer this out. They were so close, and waiting for the federal government to pass legislation, a minority parliament in Ottawa, is not going to be a fast solution. Getting the parties back to the table, getting them talking and resolving whatever issues continue to separate them because they seem to be resolved, and obviously it's profoundly disappointing to see that we're back where we were before. But I can't help but feel that that whatever is separating the parties is not worth this disruption. They've got to sort it out at the table as quickly as possible.
For our next question, we'll go to Rob Buffum from CTV News. Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks. And Premier, I apologize if this overlaps with Richard's question. I missed the first part of it, but I wanted to get your reaction to the federal labor minister calling the strike illegal, as well as, your thoughts on whether or not at this point it doesn't make sense to legislate the union back to work here.
Well, I think that the various parties involved can have a debate back and forth about the 72 hours notice and what federal labor code says and what it doesn't say, and go to court. None of that gets the port moving. What gets the port moving is the parties at the table working this out, nailing down the final issues that separate them. A short and immediate term solution is not federal legislation and counting on the minority parliament in Ottawa to step in. The parties need to accept the responsibility that they have on both sides to come to the table in good faith and solve this for Canadians quickly.
And Rob, do you have a follow-up?
No, that's good. Thanks.
Our next question, and just give me 1 second while I pull that up. Our next question is going to come from Katie DeRose at Vancouver Sun. Katie, go ahead with your question.
Hi, this question is for the Premier. Can you speak more broadly as to the future of the RCMP in BC, given your concerns about resources, given the all-party legislative committee that recommended a provincial police force, and that the federal government is considering moving the RCMP to a national force only and getting it out of the business of local policing? Do you agree with that position, and do you see a future where the RCMP is out of its local and provincial policing role?
Well, we're in a situation today where our public safety minister will be making an announcement about the future of policing in Surrey. And this is a situation where one of our largest cities decided to move to a municipal police force to provide more local accountability for policing, to ensure local priorities were met by the police force, and then now have decided that they want to move back to the RCMP. Makes it feel like the role of the RCMP in policing is a uniquely British Columbian issue. It is not. In Surrey, people need to have certainty when they call 911 that a police officer responds regardless of the badge. And that is the critical and important value in that community the Solicitor General will be addressing today. But nationally, we have heard from Alberta, from Saskatchewan, from New Brunswick, where they are also dependent on the RCMP, that we need clarity about what the federal government's intentions are related to what's called contract policing, which is where the RCMP in BC provide our provincial police force as well as city police forces. In other provinces, they have different roles under contract to provincial governments to do those services. What we have seen is a systematic understaffing of those contract roles across the country. It's reached a boiling point with premiers. It was a key issue at the federal table. We need the federal government to be very clear about what their intention is. The federal public safety minister was told to engage with provinces about what the future of policing is. We want that to happen. It needs to happen. We need clarity about the direction of the federal government, one way or the other, on RCMP providing local policing so that we can all move forward. It'll assist everybody in Surrey in understanding. It'll assist the province of BC in understanding, and Alberta, Manitoba, New Brunswick. This is a national issue, and we need the federal government to be more involved in it.
And Katie, do you have a follow-up question?
It has the ability to act notwithstanding anything that the federal government does. The province has the ability to select its own police force. So, what is your position on whether provincial police force is in the cards in the near future for the province?
Well, it would be nice if it were exclusively a provincial issue. Of course, this is not exclusively a provincial issue. The discussion about the future of contract policing in British Columbia, we're the largest contractor with the federal government, is one where, currently on our highway patrol in the province, we're somewhere around 60% staffed. And that's just not acceptable. And so if we are to move to a provincial police force in British Columbia, if we're going to head in that direction, we need to start the planning now. Currently, the RCMP union is at the table negotiating their deal about what we understand to be a priority of getting to pay parity with municipal forces, having 2 members in each car, just like municipal forces do. This is an important issue that's going to be decided by the federal government on behalf of BC and provinces across Canada. We also have a situation where the contract for contract policing is up in the early 2030s. If we're going to transition to a provincial police force and municipalities are going to transition to municipal forces, that work has to start now. And so there's really no time to waste. We need the planning to be happening now. We need a strong federal partner to have those discussions, to be clear about where they're heading. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that yet.
Our next question comes from Wolf Debner from Black Press. Go ahead, Wolf.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. A question for the Premier. Premier, can you comment on the current wildfire situation in British Columbia? Yesterday we heard that the province is looking at a sort of a long and challenging road ahead. And Minister Ma also said that the current drought conditions, which obviously sort of reflect our wildfire situation, may continue into next year. How concerned are you about the current wildfire and the drought conditions in British Columbia?
Well, the situation we face in British Columbia is pretty urgent. There are a record number of forest fires, a record number of trees that have burned already this season. We've spent about $200 million already battling those forest fires. We've called on the federal government and received assistance in the form of military coming to British Columbia. We've asked international partners for support. We've seen crews come in from Australia, from Mexico, to support BC firefighters. We saw our first death of a BC frontline wildfire forest fighter in our province, which was devastating to British Columbians, a 19-year-old woman who put her life on the line for us and paid the ultimate price. This has been an awful fire season already, and what we're seeing are droughts across the province, the highest level of drought that we have seen. And those kinds of dry conditions have required things like province-wide forest fire bans, asking British Columbians to respect those forest fire bans, ensuring that we have enforcement teams out to address that issue on the prevention side, but we can only do so much when we face lightning storms coming in and setting off multiple fires in very dry conditions. So what we've done is we've ensured our fire service is on year-round. They were preparing for this, and it's a context of the worst fire season in 100 years, according to the federal government, nationally right now. So it's a very awful situation, and we know what this is linked to. It's linked to climate change. It's changing weather patterns that are supercharged by our changing climate, and that's why we also have to take a leadership role for long-term prevention around addressing climate change, which we're doing. I want to thank all of the frontline firefighters who are out there who are working long hours on behalf of all of us, and to every British Columbian who's been evacuated or is facing evacuation, we're with you and we'll provide the support that you need.
Do you have a follow-up question, Wolf?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Situation that you just described, what, if any, specific immediate measures might we see come into force that would have sort of a provincial reach? What, if any, consideration has the government given to declaring a provincial state of emergency given current situations?
Well, the focus of our provincial government response has been to make sure that the resources are available to fight these fires, bringing on additional air resources to fight the fires, asking for and receiving federal assistance in the form of additional people, soldiers coming to support our efforts here, working with international jurisdictions to get more firefighters in. And our team at the emergency management in the provincial government is monitoring day to day, hour to hour, if there is a state of emergency required in order for us to be able to access resources or provide communications to British Columbians about how they should be responding. We will not hesitate to make that call.
Our last question for today will come from Brianna Charlebois from the Canadian Press. Go ahead, Brianna.
Great, thanks so much. I'm going to stick on the fire sort of questions. We know that 150 military members have been deployed already. I'm just wondering, it sounds like there's going to be talks about whether we need more, but there's been no reference to how much that may cost. And so I'm just wondering if you could comment on that.
Well, on the provincial side, we've already spent in the neighborhood of $200 million fighting these forest fires so far this year. If the forest fire season continues as it has, it's hard to know exactly where that final number will end up. We will provide the resources financially to make sure that we fight these fires, we protect people's homes, we protect life and safety and critical infrastructure. But this is a significant cost. And when we have major disasters, we work with the federal government to respond. When we had the floods in the Fraser Valley, for example, partnerships with the federal government to respond and support farmers that were affected by that was an important part of our response. Our Ministry of Agriculture is also working on the emergency that we're seeing it's not quite as visible, which is the drought impact on farmers, on agriculture across the province, the shortage of hay that's causing farmers in the interior to sell cattle early, and the challenge that they face of providing feed for their cows right now. The Ministry of Agriculture is working frontline with those farmers to make sure they have the support that they need, financial and otherwise, to weather this as best we can.
And Brianna, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, sure. I know also there's a First Nation near Cranbrook that has said they have lost homes already. I'm just wondering if you could comment on that, and then also whether you feel like 150 military members is enough. I know that's sort of two questions, but thanks.
Yeah, the fires that we've seen so far in British Columbia have been concentrated in the north and rural and remote areas. And typically, the populations of people who live there are Indigenous people. In this particular case, this First Nation has lost homes on reserve due to forest fire, and so we will be partnering with the federal government to support them and provide emergency response to that nation as they go into their rebuilding process and attempt to recover from this. One of the flip sides of that is we're also looking to First Nations, to Indigenous people across the province to assist with forest firefighting efforts in ways that we haven't before. Partnerships with Indigenous people who are in these areas that are most fire affected already enables the Wildfire Service to be able to provide more prompt response, more effective response, and I want to thank all the Indigenous firefighters as well that are supporting us in community across the province.
And that's all the time we have for
Thanks
today.
very much.
Thank you.